Hey everyone, my name is James Meadows and I am a traffic lawyer, and my office represents individuals who receive moving violations in the state of New York. What you should do if you get pulled over by law enforcement is very simple. Number one is you should pull over. Don't be foolish and start seeing if you can outdrive the officer. Most likely you will not be able to, and the officer will be quite mad. If the officer pulls you over, the first thing you should do is pull over. The second thing you should do is put your hands on the wheel. My advice is not to make any sudden movements, because if you make movements, the officer will most likely think that you're reaching for something and they're going to be more defensive. So don't make any sudden movements. Please understand that law enforcement are human beings and they don't want to get shot. And if they think that somebody is going for their gun, since they do not know you, they're more likely to be defensive and they're going to be more aggressive. So be as polite as possible. And that comes to point number 3. When the officer taps on your window, roll it down, show your hands, and let the officer begin the conversation. Don't blurt anything out. Don't be disrespectful. Again, that's law enforcement. They have weapons. You don't. Be respectful. Do not be abrasive. Don't sound aggressive. The officer is going to start the conversation, which is how it should be. You should not give any type of statement. So when the officer most likely will ask, "Do you know why I pulled you over?" Don't admit that you were speeding. That's foolish. Why on earth would you admit anything when the officer is going to use that statement, and they're going to use it against you at a later time. So don't give any statements, but be as polite as possible. And that's it. I mean, it's very simple. The officer is going to then ask for your ID and your registration, and then the officer is going to take that information and go back to their car. Very simple. Don't start blasting your music. Don't be foolish. Don't think that you are in a better situation than the officer, because you're not. But don't be scared, because you're not the only person who's ever gotten a moving violation. Hopefully, when the officer runs your license and the officer runs your registration and sees who you are and what your vehicle is all about, there are no issues, and the officer is just going to give you a violation, a citation. But you should just relax and be patient. Sometimes the officer takes only a minute, and sometimes the officer is going to take 20 minutes. The entire time you should show your hands. Don't be too angry. Just let it go. It's a ticket. There are bigger things in this world than the ticket, and you can deal with it at a later time. But don't make it so that the officer remembers who you are. Don't start honking your horn and saying, "Officer, hurry up!" Don't blast your music. Don't start doing anything, revving up your engine. Don't do anything. Just be patient. It's going to pass. Like everything else in this world, this will pass. But you have to make sure that you don't stand out in that officer's head. So be respectful. Be polite, be patient. Now, the officer will come back with the ticket, most likely. If the officer is nice, the officer may give you a warning. But if this video is about if you get a ticket. So the steps: you get the ticket, you should glance at the ticket. You should not give any statements to the officer. You definitely should not mouth off to the officer, because that officer will remember you at a later time. The officer may write on the ticket, "Prick." You don't want something like that. You don't want the officer to remember you. You want to be fungible goods. Do understand the officer is giving out multiple violations a day. And the last thing that you want to do is be somebody memorable, right? Let somebody else be memorable. Somebody else is going to mouth off. Somebody else is going to go for their license or registration before the officer says to do so. So don't give the officer a reason to remember you. Now, after you get that, drive. And don't start speeding. Don't be something foolish, because the officer can give you a ticket at a later time that day. The officer can follow you. Would the officer follow you? I don't know. I've seen that before, and I would suggest that you just mouth off. Don't mouth off, but shut your mouth. And don't do anything aggressive. Don't be memorable, as stated. And what you should do afterwards is look at the ticket and respond to the ticket. Do so in a timely fashion. If you got your ticket in most areas, you have between 15 and 30 days to respond. In New York City, the ticket says 15 days, but you really have a little bit more time than that. But I would not sit on my hands, and I would not just wait and wait. What I would suggest you do is either follow the ticket's instructions and enter a plea of not guilty, or what I suggest you do is consult with an attorney like myself and discuss your options. My name is James Meadows. I am a traffic lawyer, and if you like this video, please give me a thumbs up. Thank you guys and gals. Be well and be safe. Bye-bye.